Hello and welcome. I am Dr. Lara May, a clinical pharmacist specializing in functional medicine, as well as a certified yoga teacher and Reiki master. I run a truly integrative health coaching practice encompassing functional medicine lab testing, yoga and meditation, and a sprinkling of Reiki energy medicine. Join me here on Light Body Radio to break through your health plateau and come into alignment with your natural vitality. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Light Body Radio. I am your host, Dr. Lara May, and today we are going to talk about on this Wellness Illuminated episode some reasons why you might not expect that you're gaining weight or it's harder for you to lose weight. So, a lot of us out there get really frustrated when that number on the scale doesn't budge after you feel like you've been doing everything right. You've been diligently exercising, you're meal prepping healthy foods, you're avoiding junk food, and the weight is just not budging. But before you get completely discouraged and say, F it, and just go back to doing what you were doing, I want to bring forward some things for you to consider and to explore and see if they apply to you or could apply to you, or maybe need to be explored further with a practitioner to see just where you are and some of these influences that we don't often think about. So, things like chronic stress, even medication side effects, some medications, and declining muscle mass as we age could be totally sabotaging your weight loss efforts. So, when we're, on this weight loss journey, most people, well, we're told, which is not true. So I'm just going to preface it by saying that, like, we are told, calories in equals or not calories in, but, to burn and lose weight, you have to look about like how much you're taking in, how much are you burning. And they portray it, meaning they like Western medicine, big food, big pharma, all the places where the media, where we get this information from. They portray it as like a super simple math equation. And if it's not working for you, then you must be doing something wrong, or you must not be keeping to the plan, or, so it must be a you problem, not an equation problem. And so, it, it's very frustrating. And I think it keeps a lot of people in this cycle or in the mode of just F it, I'm not even going to try, because every time I try, I might get some short term benefit, but then it just comes back, or it doesn't work at all, or I'm constantly trying all these different fad diets. I'm trying keto, I'm trying intermittent fasting, I'm trying the no carb, low carb, all carb, no meat, no dairy. What I'm trying to think of all the different, there's so many different diets out there. Vegan, vegetarian, I think I already said the all meat, the total, carnivore diet. And yeah, it can be super frustrating, especially if you're not in, even for people in the health and wellness industry, but if you're not in the health and wellness industry, or in anything like, that has sort of given you a baseline scientific knowledge of our body's metabolism, then how are you supposed to know? And that's why, in theory, all of these resources are supposed to exist to help us, but really all they do is discourage and confuse. And so today I want to try to clear it up a little bit. And this isn't going to be a deep dive, but depending on the response I get from this episode, we can deep dive into some of the more nuanced aspects of this. But usually, the first thing I ask my clients, because, most of my clients come to me for helping reverse their pre-diabetes or their type 2 diabetes, which I want to say for all of you out there, if you have type 2 diabetes and you haven't progressed to the level of, kidney disease, eyesight damage, those more advanced consequences of uncontrolled type 2 diabetes, if you're still at the early stages, then it is completely and totally reversible. And if you have prediabetes, that is definitely reversible. So I want you to know that there is hope and there is a way to heal yourself with, depending on where you are, you might need some medications at the beginning, but with the right tools and resources, support, you can get there and get off the medication um, with time and diligence and healing that inflammation. So, usually, the first thing we do talk about is food, but we talk about it in the context of a food sensitivity test. So, what are you sensitive to? What is causing inflammation in your body? Because keeping weight on the body is a reflection of inflammation that's happening. So, chronic stress also can be a definitely big factor. I've had lots of clients that we do their blood work. So we look at their toxic burden load, we look at their food sensitivities, and we look at any micronutrient deficiencies that they have. And once we've, corrected all of those things and evaluated all those things and created a plan that is going to help support the reduction in inflammation, making sure the body is getting all the tools that it needs for all of those healthy chemical functions, then we'll see how it goes. We usually like we start there, we do that for a month, giving your body time because again, your body really it takes time to adjust and it does take time for the inflammation to abate. But I've had plenty of clients that are like, okay, I've been doing all the things and we did this and I'm still not seeing the results that I want. So then my next question is, well, what's your stress level like? What is your daily schedule like? Even, despite your daily schedule, what are you thinking and what are you feeling when you're going through this day? Are you constantly pulling your hair out? Are you maxed to the gills with things to do and you don't have enough downtime? Are you not sleeping well? We'll talk about sleep specifically in a minute, but sleep definitely factors into stress because if you're not getting good rest, then when you wake up, it's almost like, you haven't reset yourself from the day before. You just still wake up in this stressed response. So, stress, even though we often think of it as a mental state of mind, it very much is a physical and chemical aspect and state for your body as well because when you're stressed you bring your cortisol up, your body raises that cortisol because you're in fight or flight, and when you do that, that elevates and that triggers visceral fat storage. It triggers insulin resistance. So it actually triggers your liver to release glycogen and release glucose and then insulin because your body thinks you're getting ready to run for fight or flight. So it's this whole cascading feedback loop. And if we're in a constant state of high alert stress, then you're constantly just pumping out the cortisol, pumping out the insulin, which eventually leads to insulin resistance. And this all drives weight storage fat storage and weight gain. So if you're trying to lose weight, but you're in a chronic stressed state, then it's going to be very difficult. It's not impossible, but it's going to be difficult, more difficult than it should be. And so, well, what do we do about this stress? Well, let's look at your day. What does your day look like? I said this already, but let's really look at it. What does your morning routine look like? Do you wake up already like hair on fire, running, running, running? Maybe we need to give you more time in the morning to have a more mellow, mindful, um, restful morning, even though if you're getting up, you're, getting the kids ready, you're getting ready for work, whatever it is, you can still have that reflective time. So give yourself that extra time in the morning to maybe do some yoga, do some meditation first thing in the morning, do some journaling and some reflection and some intention setting first thing in the morning. So much of how we feel, and some would argue all of how we feel is reflected on what we're thinking. And if we aren't evaluating what we're thinking, then we're never going to start to be getting intentional about how we're feeling. Setting that intention. How do I want to feel today? I don't want to feel stressed. I want to feel at ease. I want to feel calm. I want to feel happy and optimistic. I want to feel like no matter what the day throws at me, I can handle it and take it in stride and with ease. And, just really being in this state of calm throughout the day. That's usually like how I would like to feel throughout the day. Some people maybe don't mind more of the drastic swings. But so you can set yourself up for success by really creating that morning routine that works for you. So I've definitely had to adjust how I approach my morning routine. I used to definitely be that type of person, sleep to the last minute, snooze multiple times, wake up, maybe shower, maybe not, usually not eat, maybe usually like make some sort of caffeine and run out the door with just enough time to deal with traffic and get to where I need to be. I may or may not be on time. I'm not going to lie. I'm not great at being on time. And, some would also maybe write this off to my undiagnosed ADD most of my life. However, is that really an excuse? No, because we have the power to change it. So, is it a pattern of mine? Yes. But is it, a forever doomsday? I'm never going to get out of it and this is just how it's always going to be? No, 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 no. We have the power to change. Awareness is the first step. So, I encourage you to look at your morning routine and where can you change it, alter it, tweak it, make it again work for you. What I love to do now is I wake up, do my morning bathroom things first thing, and then I go and meditate and do morning yoga because that's what really sets me up for feeling good. When I do this, I don't need caffeine in the morning because the breath work through the Kundalini yoga I do in the morning, wakes me up, gets me going, creates clarity and motivation in my day. Um, and then, I'm still not much of a morning eater, so I don't do that. My husband, on the other hand, cannot move forward in the day unless he eats, pretty much very soon after getting out of bed. So again, like we're all different, and that's the beautiful part of being a human on this planet. And so, in order for me to do this, though, I will say I had to create a good bedtime routine also. And so now we talked about stress and the biology behind how it actually does prevent you from losing weight and encourages weight gain. Insulin is a fat storing hormone in your body. If you have lots of insulin circulating all the time because your glucose is too high or is high all the time, and or you're in fight or flight, so your body's just pumping 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 with the glucose, which stimulates the insulin release, which over time creates insulin resistance, then that is also going to create prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. So you can actually, even if you consider yourself a fairly healthy eater, you can still be on this path towards type 2 diabetes depending on the level of inflammation in your body and how well your body has this compensation mechanism nailed down. And eventually it wears out. And so that's why you see a lot of older people developing as we age. These mechanisms just don't keep up like they used to because the inflammation becomes overwhelming for the body. Excuse me. So, anyway, so that's the stress piece. So, first thing after you've looked at your food sensitivities, toxic burden load, and nutrient deficiencies, what is your stress level? I would think I think like top of the priority list. It's the thing that you really do have the most control over. Even if you have a high stress job, I would argue that you still have control over how you manage that stress, how you react, how you cope, and how you approach it. Because just because your job is considered high stress doesn't mean you have to be stressed in that environment. And that's where a lot of the life coaching piece comes in, managing your mind, managing your thoughts, which manages your feelings, actions, and results. So there's lots of episodes on Light Body Radio about that. I encourage you to go back and listen to them, because that will help you sort of nail down and hone in on that piece. All right. So stress, what's your morning routine? Because that sets you up for success throughout the day. How do you cope and manage your stress throughout the day? Do you give yourself time for breaks? And on your breaks, what are you doing? Are you going for quick walks? Are you maybe having some quiet time and doing some quick meditations on your breaks or some breath work on your breaks? Or are you going for coffee, which is just going to spike your cortisol even more because you are hanging on by a thread throughout your day? There's no judgment here. I've been there too. I've done all these things myself. But it's not about being perfect, but it's about how quickly we come back, how much are we aware, and how often are we resetting and again making those intentions and making the effort at the behavior change, at the thought pattern changes, because that's where the magic happens. Okay, so the next piece that I want to bring forward is the bedtime routine, is the sleep. Because for me, I couldn't fix my morning routine, excuse me, without a, evaluating and fixing my bedtime and sleep routine. So I've always been a night owl myself, and there was about a period of like 2 years ago now where I had to shift to being a daytime morning person, which was a big shift for me. My work schedule started at 7 a.m. I lived 45 minutes away. And like I said, I wanted to either work out or do my yoga and meditation before I went to work. So that meant that I was usually up at 4:30 or 5 every morning. And in order for me to not hate life at that hour of the morning, hour of the day, I needed a minimum of 8 hours of sleep. That's just me. There's plenty of people out there that can exist on 6 hours. There's other people that need 10. So, again, this is about creating a routine that works for you, something that you can stick with, something that you like, something that you enjoy, something that feels good. These things are meant to feel good so that you enjoy doing them and they become part of a life that you love. This is when people say create a life you love. This is it. These are the steps. How do we figure out not to hate life in the morning at 4:30 in the morning? How do we, I that was the thing for me. I was like, I don't want to every day like hate it. I wanted to get to a place where I loved and enjoyed getting up at that time. And I did that by creating a better bedtime routine. So I started putting myself to bed earlier. At first, it was hard because my body wasn't used to going to sleep that early. So I found a healthy sleep supplement that helped, that I am no longer, dependent or needing, but it did help. So there's nothing wrong with finding these little things that help you along the way. Um, and so, if your mind is racing, I will tell you the product. I don't get a kickback from this, but it's a product I really love. It's called Luna. It's a mixture of herbs that help, create that calmness and help your brain get ready for sleep. It is non-habit forming. You don't become dependent on it. I haven't had it in like 2 or 3 weeks now. I usually like to take it because my sleep quality is better when I take it. But even when I take it, I only take a half of the dose that's recommended on the bottle. And so again, it's experimenting and figuring out what works for you. Some people really like CBD before sleep, again, because it just helps turn the brain off. I'm definitely one of those people that I can lay in bed and just my mind will race. I can be completely yawning and tired and exhausted, but as soon as my head hits the pillow for some reason, my brain turns on and then I sleep well. But so a large part of this also is, how much blue light are you getting leading up to that bedtime? So think about what time you need to be asleep by and then count backwards from there. Give yourself at least an hour or maybe 30 minutes if you're a fast fall asleeper person. I'm not. My husband is. As soon as his head hits the pillow, he's asleep. And he doesn't understand that that just does not work for me. So I need to, if I need to be asleep by like 9 p.m. or even 8:30, then that means I need to be in bed by 7:30 or 8 to give my brain that time to wind itself down. And the more you do this day after day, night after night, your brain will get used to the hints and the triggers. And so that's why they call it, a routine and a habit, because our bodies and our brains get used to these things over time and they start to expect them. And so your brain will start to know that, okay, this is happening at this time. It's time for, brain to start producing melatonin from the serotonin. And then that's why over time you won't need the sleep supplement if that's something that you choose to explore, because your brain will be doing it for you. Melatonin is a sleep hormone that is produced from serotonin from the 5-HTP. And over time, your body produces it naturally as long as you have enough vitamin D. So that's why checking vitamin D levels is so important. If you're deficient in vitamin D, most likely you're not producing enough melatonin, which is affecting your sleep. So I'll throw that little bit of science in there for you. Um, so anyway, count backwards, give yourself 30 to 60 minutes before you need to be asleep to wind down, maybe do a bedtime meditation. I like to listen to fiction that I'm not going to get engaged in so that my brain is just sort of distracted. And then I oftentimes listen to sleep meditations also, because again, I'm the type of person that my brain is just on and I need it to just stop sometimes. So I distract it with lovely meditations, guided meditations. Also, sometimes I'm sleepy enough that just listening to my own breath and doing some gentle breath work in bed is enough. But sometimes it's not. And so um, these are some things that help me. They could help you. I would encourage you to try them out. So I have a sleep mask with Bluetooth speakers in the ears. And so I just, pop that on, and then I'm listening to my meditation that's not keeping my husband awake. Not that I think it would anyway, but just in case. And that helps me fall asleep faster, stay asleep, sleep soundly through the night, and wake up refreshed, ready to do my workout or my yoga and my meditation, whatever that morning routine happens to be. Okay, so if you're skimping on sleep, then having not enough sleep also decreases your leptin, which is your satiety hormone. I'll say that word correctly. So part of this weight loss and or weight loss journey, and another part of the hormonal piece of it is leptin and ghrelin. So leptin is your satiety hormone, meaning like how fast do you feel satiated or full? And ghrelin is the hunger hormone. So how hungry are you? And these factor into, are we overeating? When we do eat, how fast do we get full? How soon do we feel hungry after we've eaten, depending on these hormones. So it's good to know that poor sleep or lack of sleep can also affect these hormones. So, yet another reason, not just the morning, setting yourself up for morning routine success, but there are some specific hormonal factors that this affects. So, be aware of that and maybe start to notice that as you implement these different changes and you start to create these routines and habits, maybe that's when you start to see the difference. Like, oh, I'm actually not hungry, an hour after I just ate. Or, oh, I am feeling full faster, and so I don't have to eat as much. So these things will change as your body decreases that inflammation and creates healthier circadian rhythms and cycles. Your hormones will rebalance themselves on their own. It just takes a little bit of time. So, again, be gentle with yourself, be compassionate, don't compare yourself to the magazines. Don't compare yourself to your neighbor because they're a different human being than you are. They have different body chemistry. They have a different morning routine and night routine, probably too. So, even if you have some accountability buddies that you're on this journey with, and I do encourage accountability buddies, especially, for weight loss, because it does help to keep you, compliant or like on track. um, don't necessarily expect the same result as your accountability buddy. The accountability buddy there is to keep you accountable. It's just that accountable, on track. So doing, checking in. Did you do your meditation this morning? Did you do your yoga? Did you do your workout? Did you go for that walk? Whatever it is. Did you decline the pastry that was in the break room today? Or did you, what did you have for lunch? Are you sticking, if you're practicing intermittent fasting, what's your interval? Are you sticking to it? Are you snacking in between? Just different things, whatever your goals are, having that person to keep you accountable can be very helpful. But again, don't compare yourself to that person. Know that we're all unique individuals and we're all going to have a little bit different experience and a little bit different time frame when it comes to this. So, the other thing that I want to talk about is muscle mass, because as we age, after the age of 40, actually, our muscle mass actually starts to drop pretty drastically, and it is harder for us to build that muscle back. And this is true for both men and women, but more so women, because we don't have as much testosterone naturally, which is one of the hormones that helps us build muscle. But also, too, usually in our 40s, we become perimenopausal and eventually menopausal, which is a huge hormonal change for us as women, which definitely impacts how we keep our muscle and how we build our muscle. So that's why one of the things that I encourage so strongly is weightlifting for women. You're not going to get bulky, because I don't know about you, but if you've ever even looked at an actual competitive bulky weightlifter, do you know how much time they spend in the gym trying to look like that? Come on, you're not going to do that. All I want you to do is maybe some kettlebells, some dumbbells, it needs to be challenging and it needs to be heavy for wherever you are now. And as you progress, you need to keep adding on weight. But I promise you, you are not going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger unless you start spending that much time in the gym. Oh, and, taking exogenous testosterone on top of that. So, um, weightlifting is so important. It's so good for our bones. It's so good for our brains. It's so good for our hormone balance. The more muscle you have, the higher your basal metabolic rate will be, which means it'll be easier for you to lose weight. The more muscle mass you have, the less fat mass you will have. So if you want to lose weight, start lifting weights. And there will be a period of time where you're putting on muscle mass and losing fat, but that number on the scale is not going to change, and that's okay. So I want you to also expect that. You will see change in body composition if you're lifting weights, and you will maybe not see that number on the scale change. And that's okay, because remember, muscle weighs more than fat, and muscle is a healthier tissue than fat. Muscle is actually anti inflammatory. So focus on muscle mass, and the weight, the fat mass will come off and you will feel better, you'll look better, you'll be happier. because all of the other trickle down effects with the neurotransmitters and the hormones that come with this. So, strength training. I want you to start doing it. I don't want you to hurt yourself. So start low, go slow, go steady wins the race. This is not, go out there and start, deadlifting and um, pressing and all of this crazy stuff, super heavy max out weights. I want you, and if you have never done it before, then I encourage you to go find a trainer to work with to at least teach you the basics so you can do it healthily. I have my own little kettlebell home gym, but I've been lifting weights since high school as a swimmer. So I understand the structure and the approach. And so I feel comfortable doing it at home. But, maybe find a class, maybe find a body pump class. And even if you do a class like body pump, I want you to start if this is like you're stepping in, especially maybe you used to do it, but you're out of shape. Start with lower weights, please. Don't hurt yourself because that will just add another layer of resistance and discouragement to this journey. But if you go gentle, go slow, but start, then you are more likely to stay with it, have success, enjoy yourself to the point that you start to feel better. And then it becomes something that you'll feel better after you do. So you look forward to doing it. So that's my lecture and my speech about that. And then of course there is the how much are you moving a day? And it doesn't have to be crazy movement. Like yes, we want to get the heart rate up and it is good for our heart to be challenged regularly. But, again, depending on where you're starting, walking, hiking, maybe you have a dog. So maybe extend your dog walks. Your dog will love it and you'll love it. Maybe instead of running, maybe running's not your thing, go for a hike. And then maybe once you've been hiking for a while, you can escalate to rucking, which is just carrying more heavy weight on your back. Rucking, they're doing more and more research on rucking. Rucking is so good for us. It burns so many more calories. It is really a full body exercise because of how, our body has to adjust when we carry the extra weight. So think about that too. If you're somebody out there that has some extra weight to lose, think about like what that's doing to your body by having that extra weight on your body. And, it's affecting your joints, it's affecting your hormone balance, it's affecting your mood, your thoughts. So, weight loss is not about vanity. It really is about health and being as healthy as possible. And again, we all have a different set point. So I am not encouraging you to expect to look like, I don't know, Paris Hilton or some supermodel. I don't, someone out there that's like super tall and super skinny. Kendall Jenner is another one that pops into my head. Like, I am never going to look like Kendall Jenner, and I know that. And most of us out there aren't, and that's okay. Like, that is not a healthy expectation to have. But it is a healthy expectation to think that I can be lean and toned and have a healthy muscle to fat balance. Because for women, it is important to have some fat on our body for that hormone balance. It's not uncommon for high level athletes, gymnasts, swimmers to lose their menses, excuse me, when they are pushing, pushing, pushing for that high level competitiveness. But really, that's not the healthiest way to exist long term for your body. So, even that can create inflammation. So, there's a spectrum here of movement, healthy movement, yoga, Pilates, definitely combine the low impact with the high impact. Again, the lifting heavy things. Functional, I like to do functional weightlifting. So what does that mean? Body movements with weight that actually translate into real life things. So like when I'm hiking and I need to pick up my backpack, and if it's a heavy pack, I'm not going to hurt myself by doing it because I've already been teaching my body how to do it and which muscles to engage and strengthening those muscles along the way. All right, so I think I've spoken long enough today for you. I know. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to let you guys go. I hope this has been helpful. Again, I encourage you to look at your morning routine, look at your evening bedtime routine, evaluate your stress level, evaluate what thoughts that you're thinking that are creating the emotional stress that is definitely then translating to physical stress. Look at your movement. How often? How much? What quality? How are you challenging your body every day? And then mix it up. Again, this is something that living our best lives, if we want to, sort of look at that, what's now, I think, become a cliche, is possible, but we need to create what that feels good and is successful enough for us, for each individual. So I hope I have given you some things to think about, giving you some things to evaluate. If you want more of this information, head over to my website at drlaramay.com/blog. I publish a blog every week. It might seem a little old school, but I still do it because I think having that written word out there is super helpful. And it puts information out there that maybe you Google something and it pops up and it's helpful for you. You can subscribe to the blog if you want it delivered to your inbox. And then, of course, there's this podcast. And I alternate the Wellness Illumina episodes with having guests. So I like to keep it entertaining and fresh and interesting for you. Plus, too, I just like to talk to other practitioners and find out what they're doing and how they're helping people out in the world, too. So that's there. If you head over to my website, you'll find retreats. You'll find Reiki training. You'll find memberships. I have a detox membership. I have a monthly energy healing membership. All of them are priced very entry level and affordable because I want people to be able to participate. I want people to be able to implement these tools in their lives. And I know how crazy it is out there with everything being so expensive. So it's super approachable. And if you find that you think you could use some extra support, I hope that I can be that level of support for you. I'm on all the socials at Dr. Laramay, DrLaramay, and I hope to see you out there. Definitely give me a like, a thumbs up, a comment. And if you have anything that you want me to cover on the show, definitely reach out on either on the website, email, on the socials, and I'm happy to oblige. All right, y'all. Catch ya on the flip side. Bye.